All right, John, today's question comes from Schmitty.
I don't think it's Schmitty.
I don't think that's his real name either.
I don't think
That is a name that you have used
it is.
to demean other attorneys.
Possibly.
Yes. You've said, if your cousin, Schmitty, is a divorce attorney, don't get them to do your estate planning.
That's true. That's probably, that is a, that is a term that I have used. So that's probably where it comes from. So I'm sure this is now a long time listener.
I'll bet Schmitty
they've
is.
picked up from that and they've used Schmitty. All right.
So Schmitty says, love your show and the practical information you guys provide.
See, praise.
Yes. That's
always,
what made it.
Always good.
That's what pushed this question through. He said, I retired in late 2018 and didn't take advantage of filing SSA 44 at the time. So my spouse and I paid IRMAA for the remainder of 2018 and 2019. Is it too late to file the SSA 44 to possibly receive a refund for the surcharges paid? All right, let's back up and give some context.
Yeah, explain all that.
Okay. So Medicare premiums will adjust higher based on your income. So if you surpass certain thresholds, your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums will increase.
Right.
Where we see this in a lot of cases is when someone is working, and let's say they're earning $250,000 a year, and they retire. 2 years later, because there's a 2-year look back on these. So for example, if you are in 2025, it's your 2023 income that's going to determine what your 2025 premiums will be for Part B and Part D.
I gotcha.
So you're still working in 2023. You make well over the threshold to get moved into one of those higher IRMAA brackets, but then you retire at the end of 2023.
Right. And so your 2025 income is not going to be what it was. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Gotcha.
So how do you, is there anything you can do? Well, the short answer is yes. Schmitty referenced the form here. It's SSA 44. It's the form to appeal a higher Medicare premium. And one of the reasons, I think they list 7 reasons that you can appeal it. And one of those is work stoppage or work reduction.
Okay.
So if your income was high because you were working, now you're retired and you're no longer earning that income, thus your income is lower, you can appeal that.
Right. And I would think the best practices would be to, as soon as you get your
Absolutely
your premium there that is at the higher rate, you would immediately then file the SSA 44.
Yep.
That would be best practices.
But Schmitty was busy being retired.
That's right.
And doing all of this fun stuff that he had built up.
Right. And then the fun wore off after 2 years.
And now he's noticing.
and he's bored. And so he got to looking at things.
And he's like, wait a minute. I've been paying higher IRMAA premiums for these years, and I shouldn't have. I want to know, can I go back and get some of that money back?
Right.
So here's what the Social Security Administration says. It says, put my glasses on.
Yes.
Ordinarily, and this is in their POMS manual, the Program Operation Manual System. Ordinarily.
Which is, by the way, that's the Bible for Social Security employees.
Yes. We do not make a determination retroactive to a prior premium year on a new initial determination unless the life-changing event causing the reduction occurs in the last 3 calendar months, blah, 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 blah. Effectively, they're saying that, no, you've got to do it in the year after you get that notice or the year you get that notice, or you're out of luck.
Right.
Now, they do say, though, we accept a late request if there is good cause for late filing, as explained in, and they link it to another code section here. And if you go to that, examples of good cause for late filing. If you were seriously ill, and therefore you couldn't contact the Social Security Administration.
Fair enough.
There was a death or serious illness in the claimant's immediate family. Pertinent records were destroyed or damaged by fire or other accidental cause. The claimant was diligently seeking evidence. Now, how do you prove that? Well, I was diligently seeking, but they didn't finish before the time period expired. Well, I was trying. That's all I can tell you. I was trying. Now, here's an interesting, there's several bullet points, and I'm not going to go through all of these. If you didn't actually receive a determination or decision, right? So they send out that notice of initial determination, I think is what they call it, when they're going to increase your premiums. Well, if you didn't get that, that's one of the reasons for filing late. But one of them is an agency representative of the SSA or Centers for Medicaid Services gave the claimant confusing, incorrect, or incomplete information about how to request continued benefits, reconsideration, a hearing, so on and so forth. I'll bet that's the one that more people use than any of them. I talked to someone and they told me, no, I couldn't do it. And so I didn't. Now I'm looking back and I realize I could have. So give me back my money.
There you go.
But hey, it's worth it, right? It's worth it to go in and appeal that.
It costs you nothing to appeal.
Right.
And it costs you nothing to lose the appeal.
Yeah.
And so it's a all gain proposition.
Yes.
Right? You file the form, even if you file it late, as long as you have if you can articulate one of these reasons in your particular situation, then file it. And worst case scenario is they say no.
Off to the races with it. Now, you say it doesn't cost anything to appeal, but there are obviously profiteers out there.
Of
people
course.
who will do this for you. Now, there's one, and I don't really know I am not promoting this company. I don't really know anything about this company, but I have heard some clients mention IRMAA.com. And IRMAA.com is it's a for-profit company that is associated with, I believe it is Social Security Advisors. So that was a company that in the past, when Social Security filing strategies were all the rage, maximize your benefit, let us show you how. And then some of the filing strategies went away. They had to start pivoting away from that. Well, it's interesting because I'm looking at their website and actually their phone number is 877 Max My Benefit. So, I mean, that's the company.
It's the old company, yeah.
Yes. So now they have IRMAA.com, and if you've received a letter from IRMAA, they will walk through this and appeal it with you. And I looked at the pricing. For an individual, it's $200. For a couple, it's $400. But I would say that if you're doing this in a timely manner, and it's because of that work stoppage or work reduction, you probably don't need this service. But if it's getting more complex, or if you just want to talk to someone and say, hey, what are my odds here? If I hire you guys to do this for $400, do you think this is going to happen? And I believe they will do an initial consultation for no charge. So IRMAA.com may be a direction to go, these people may be able to help you out, because I have heard several people mention them. But again, I don't think it's necessarily required if it's a simple open and shut case.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Very good. Well, if you'd like your question featured here on the podcast, bigpictureretirement.com, top right-hand side, it says ask a question, and we'll cover it here. All right. Thanks so much for listening.